Welcome to How It Works. I'm Bob Ambrogi, and on today's episode, we're going to take a look at EvenUp, an AI platform for personal injury lawyers, and specifically at a new set of products the company just announced. Joining me to tell us about it and show it to us is Sam Mashhad, co-founder and chief product officer and chief legal officer at EvenUp. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for doing it. Before we get into actually kind of hearing about the new products you've just announced, why don't you could give us a quick little background on EvenUp and what you do?
So my name is Sam. By way of introduction, head up product design and various types of operations at EvenUp. I was a commercial litigator in Toronto and Montreal before starting this business. So, it's been quite the journey for me. What we do at EvenUp is quite simple. We just create AI that powers software that is built for personal injury law firms in the United States. To date, we've generated over $7 billion worth of claims and helped unlock hundreds of millions of dollars of case value by way of the various features that we've put together. We've raised over $200 million from venture capitalists and serve over 1,500 personal injury law firms nationwide, including some major law firms that you may know on a billboard near you. And what differentiates us is really the claims intelligence platform that we've been able to build that leverages the largest PI database to build the best workflows for our customers. We focus only on PI and no other vertical. And this means that we take immense care in making sure that the data that we extract, the way we create that data, and how we build systems around that data is really designed uniquely for personal injury.
As we're speaking, you've just announced a number of kind of a whole suite of new features in the platform. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've announced, or if you want to just jump right into it and show it to us, we can do that.
For sure. I'll give you an overview before jumping in,
Okay.
Bob. So we think that drafting is one of the most important workflows in law. And every time you draft, you need context that lives within specific documents within a case. And so the basic idea here is that we wanted to build an experience that allowed the lawyers, case managers, paralegals to have a centralized place where they can reuse the context from all of the documents that they have on any given case, reuse the knowledge that exists at the firm level, and also be able to access AI tools that can help them move much faster and generate output at much higher quality. So I'll just quickly share my screen and walk you through some of the documents that users can now generate on our platform. So here we have an AI-only generated express demand. This demand goes over the facts, the liabilities, the injuries and treatments in prose, extracts the ICD codes, provides a list of objective tests with positive findings, invasive treatments, as well as past medical expenses and pain and suffering narrative, all generated only with AI. One of the most important things that we know is important to our customers is speed. And even if you get an amazing draft, it might take you just as long to review it than to write it yourself. And that's why we created this concept of smart citations. So with smart citations, you can click and you can find exactly where every piece of information is pulled from the underlying records. And the basic idea here is that we want to make it as easy as possible for the user to be able to go in and verify the information generated by the AI and help them build trust as quickly and seamlessly as possible with that content. And so if you want to see where the treatments are from, where the summaries are coming from, click and you can find where that information comes from. If you want to see where the ICD codes are in the records, click, find. If you want to see where the bills are, you can click and find and do the same thing as well. But it goes beyond that. Oftentimes when you're drafting or reviewing, you want to make changes. And there are many, many avid users of ChatGPT, and a lot of attorneys are now using ChatGPT as part of their drafting workflow. And so we thought, well, why not just bring it into the drafting experience? If you look at the content and you want to make changes to it, you can highlight and you can use either some of our predefined prompts, or you can come in here and write a prompt of your own to make any changes that you think might benefit the draft. So we can just write combine in one paragraph, and it takes a couple of seconds, and we have these wonderful lawyer puns that populate as part of the weights. And then you have an output that's generated again, considering not only the text that you highlighted, but the context of all the documents that were uploaded in support of this case. The final thing I'll quickly show you, Bob, is we process the documents as well. So to create this, the user had to fill in a couple of fields and just upload their raw records untreated. And the interesting thing is we take those records, we organize them, name them, classify them, and build your list of exhibits for you that you can then manipulate on our platform very, very easily. It's basically building in Adobe as well within the platform. So this is one type of document, but as you know, throughout the lifecycle of the case, you will want to produce many other types of documents. And so we thought, well, let's start giving the ability to our customers to not only generate demands, but the other very important documents that they need to continuously generate throughout the case. So these will be
That was going to
things
be my
like,
next question: is what other documents you could do here?
yeah, of course. So we can do the medical summary, a negotiation sheet, a complaint, and I can show you examples of each within the context of the same case. So medical summary, a date-by-date summary of what happened for that case. Again, all entirely generated by AI within 20 to 60 minutes, and you can regenerate it as many times as you want as you upload records. So think of it as a living document as the case file evolves. A negotiation sheet that gives you a high-level exposition of the case, so you can wrap your head around some of the most important elements of it, as well as potential arguments and counter arguments that you should bring to the attention of the adjuster. Very clear medical evidence confirming the significant injuries, impairment ratings, the type of treatment received by the patient, and then also counter arguments. This is also very, very important. So we try to identify what the arguments of the claim adjuster or opposing counsel will be and offer rebuttals proactively. Again, considering the context of personal injury and best practices in the context of those negotiations. I showed you medical summaries, negotiation briefs, also complaints. So we're starting to do litigation documents as well, starting with complaints. So you can, again, for simple motor vehicle accident cases, upload your records and get a complaint done for you. And then the nice thing here is that there's also this concept of a blank draft. So you can just open up a draft and you can ask the model to do whatever you want in terms of a first draft. And you could ask it for things like write a letter to opposing counsel asking for policy limits and highlight the most important injuries. And I entered it. I won't wait for it just because it takes a couple of minutes, but it will generate these draft letters for you in a couple of seconds. Any questions?
On the complaint drafting, and I guess on the negotiation draft brief as well, is it incorporating legal causes of action, or is it focused on the factual aspects drawn from the documents in the record?
It is only focused on the facts. So in personal injury, it's a very factual practice. A lot of it comes down to understanding the medicine and being able to understand the causality of injuries and whether they're related to the accident or not. These are usually questions of fact. And so we're entirely focused on questions of fact in these negotiation brief. And for the complaint, we don't try to be adventurous in our counts or try to make any sophisticated legal arguments. It's really taking a baseline approach to complaints and populating the elements of it with the information from the underlying records.
That makes sense. And you said you're kind of starting with litigation documents with the complaint. I guess that suggests you plan to add other litigation documents over time.
Yeah, exactly. So you can already go into blank drafts and ask for things like prepare my responses to interrogatories if you have the questions from opposing counsel uploaded, or if you have a preset set of questions that you want drafted. If you think about it, really what we're good at is being able to go in, find the right information, extract it, and be able to represent it in a manner that's acceptable to the attorney. And that exercise lends itself well for many documents produced throughout the discovery process.
So I know you rolled out other new features today. Do you want to tell us more about those?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to talk to you about this other feature. So this is our case page. And on the case page, we have our case companion that is basically your ability to chat with your documents outside of the experience of drafting a document. But here we have our case financials. So medical bills are a really important part of the experience of the personal injury attorney. They really need to understand the most up-to-date bills as the bills are coming in. So we need to take the providers, reconcile the providers, make sure that we're adding the charges into the right provider, and then deduplicate potentially duplicative bills as well, which can be quite complex as well. So what we do is not only do we tabulate the range of dates of service and the charges, but we make that information readily available to the user so they can click and find exactly where that information comes from and edit it as need be. So this is their way of keeping up an up-to-date ledger of the most important expenses in their cases and can make resultant decisions that are very focused on the financials of a case at any given point in time. Any questions on this, Bob?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe we could talk very briefly about smart workflows. This is basically a tool that reads your documents and can help the user understand when is the right time to send a demand. That's the first use case. So we can read your records, read your bills, understand what the policy limit is, and determine whether this case is likely to tender or not based on this gathering of information. Now, this is only the start of Smart Workflows. Smart Workflows is designed to be an orchestration tool that, based on the data of your case, combined with our proprietary data and the rules that you set at your firm, can start making smart decisions about your case using the various tools that we have on our platform. So, for example, if you want to follow up with your clients at a certain interval, or if you want to send specific messages to your clients, if you determine some fact to be true in a particular case, we can start doing these things to ensure that the cases are running smoothly and that no stone goes unturned that may otherwise impact the value of a case or the duration of a case.
So the smart workflows are to some degree intuiting, if that's the right word to use for it, when the timing might be right to do certain events, but you can also go in and train it to some extent according to the ways that you want to do to handle certain kinds of events or certain kind of matters within your own practice. Is that what I'm getting?
That's exactly right. Another way to think about this, Bob, is that for you to make smart decisions about your case, the precursor to that is number one, reading the case files and ingesting that data. And number two, having a set of actions that you want to do afterwards. And so given that we already read the case data, understand it, it's only a matter of enshrining what those next steps are going to be in those workflows. And we can help orchestrate that and determine the success of those workflows based on user action and data that we get on the platform.
Okay, anything else you wanted to tell us? We've seen AI draft suite, the medical bill summaries, and the smart workflows, all new features added just recently to EvenUp.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the beginning for us. The AI drafts in particular, as I mentioned, we're going to be adding many, many other document types over the years. And the impact of this is very, very clear with the customers that we have already rolled it out with. The cadence at which they can produce high quality documents is fundamentally changed. And really thinking about legal tech more broadly, there's no shortage of work that needs to be done to improve advocacy. But I think we're at a unique moment where attorneys must look at AI and look at it as a tool that they must use to exercise their craft. And tools are an extension of craftsmanship. And the simple reality is tasks like extracting information, summarizing it, are not going to be as valuable going forward. And this is the purpose of this tool, making those workflows that are very laborious much easier, layer it with proprietary insights, and make it much easier for the attorney to practice their craft and be amazing advocates.
On that note, Sam, thanks so much for coming on the show today and telling us about these new features of EvenUp. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
That's it for this episode of How It Works. You can find the full series at directory.lawnext.com under the resources tab or on YouTube. Just search for How It Works there and you'll find them all there. This is Bob Ambrogi. Thanks for being with us.